They can't cancel us yet, but they're still trying. Back once again, pod number 83 of the world's most bullish podcast, brought to you by the 4Bs, Mr. All In, aka the $1 trillion man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, and once again, she's not here, Mrs. No Show.
Who?
Still Mrs. No Show. Who?
Yeah, who? Who indeed?
Who? Exactly.
Yeah, and this week we have loads of Bitcoin news, as always. A load of stuff about some hydropower Bitcoin mining. We've got another story about a huge mining expansion. The good old golems at the WEF all meet at Davos. They want to regulate Bitcoin. The CNBC, bizarrely, trying to orange pill. We got Inflation Weekly. Nigeria reducing withdrawals from one of their banks. Peter Thiel has sold a load of his crypto, but does include a large amount of Bitcoin, and he sold it back in March 2022. Bit of a sneaky rat there. We'll talk about that one. We've got a story from Reddit about a guy that's just started his Bitcoin journey, and a perfect example of how not to start your Bitcoin journey. And then to end it, we've got a little game. There's you can play chess and earn Bitcoin. So we will talk about that at the end. But yeah, it's been, I think probably the main story of the week really is things that I've been following. It's Davos, right? It's all the golems and
I thought the main story of the week was you being back on LinkedIn and trolling everyone.
yeah. Well, it's been the perfect week for it, right? We've got freaking Davos and we've got Jacinda resigning as freaking PM.
It's just you mean you've been telling the truth to people and they've not liked it, and you've not got a strike yet.
They can't handle the truth. Yeah, I'm waiting to get banned. I think it's going to be a short-lived stay on LinkedIn.
Here we go. Here's a good example one. One of the best leaders this planet has ever had, along with Finnish Prime Minister Sanna Marin. The world needs more women like them to lead the way, with kindness but determination, compassion but strength. It's time to archive toxic masculinity in local cigar and golf clubs and lead the way to greatness and vision for extraordinary women leaders like Jacinda Ardern. Thank you. When China, the US, France, India, Russia, Japan, Indonesia, Iran, and Saudi Arabia all have women leaders, fucking love to see that day. We will finally enter the next stage of our evolution. Mr. All In. Person's name. This isn't about what genitals you have. It's about what you can do and why. Stop looking what's between someone's legs and start listening to what they say. I'd hate her as much as she had a penis. I promise you. Busy week.
That's what you do when your FU money is all the way up.
Yeah, bit jealous.
I don't even think it's that bad, because literally, like the comment I'm replying to there, in my view, it's sexist. It's like, why do you want all world leaders to be one gender, whether they're men or women? You just want the best people for the job, right? It's just, and bizarrely, it's offensive to say that you don't want that. You don't want the best person. You have what the official line is. You have to have women. You have to have women, or it's basically diverse. Like you can have a guy, provided they chop their dick off and put a wig on. Now it's okay. You can have a tranny, but you can't have an actual man who says he's a man still. It's bizarre. I'm the weird one for going, should we have the best person for the job and not look at genitals? Fucking Nazi, homophobe. I'm like, what the fuck happened there?
I'm reporting this. You've triggered me.
I think, it's the whole quota, like you quite rightly said, it is sexist, ultimately, when they start looking at quotas, because it is limiting what it'll be a marginalized gender can do in this case. And like you said, it should be the right person, but there shouldn't be any hurdles in place for anyone to get the job. It should be the best person.
I mean, there's not too many Jacindas out there, is there? In terms of
was Justin Trudeau.
True. But what I mean is, women that actually want to take that role in the first place. It's like whenever there's that, more women in tech, as we were just talking offline before, ultimately you've got to be, one, qualified to do the role, whether you're male or female, and two, actually want to do the role. And if you don't tick the boxes, then clearly it's just going to go to the person that does, which unfortunately, a lot of the time, maybe because it's in our DNA, we want that, that power, and ultimately we naturally migrate and navigate to it. It's a man.
Well, you have to be in the WEF club as well.
Ah, yeah.
You have to be all
Forget
about
that
suppressing
bastard.
people. It's for their good.
Bizarrely, I actually don't even think have anything against Jacinda or Justin Trudeau, like Tony
do.
Blair,
I do.
Obama. I think they
I
are,
don't.
yeah, well, I think they are extremely competent, very good leaders, very well spoken, extremely intelligent. The problem is, I actually don't think they are doing the best for I think they're lying. I don't think they're doing the best for the people they say that they are working for. I think they are working for an agenda behind the scenes for the elite, and they are pretending and very, very good at pretending. That is why I find them so offensive. I actually think they're very, very competent people that could.
What do you mean Jacinda Ardern wasn't acting in people's best interests when she locked down cities for months on end for the sake of one COVID case and caused massive backlogs within the hospitals, which resulted in higher than possibly you could ever possibly imagine around average deaths in future years. I mean, she wasn't acting in people. She wasn't acting in people's interests.
Those 5 mile radius curfews were worth the weight in gold.
Yeah, those excess deaths,
what was it, 10 o'clock or 11 p.m. curfews because COVID knew time? It was worth it.
Yeah. We all like look at China and go, oh, look how authoritarian and how little freedom they have. People just can't see what's right in front of their faces somehow. But anyway, we've managed to get onto politics via a LinkedIn comment that I've been doing, just trolling on there. Trying to change your person's mind. I must admit, I did one of my LinkedIn threads I actually sent to you guys, and it was about Bitcoin. I can't remember how it started, but actually, no, it's because actually it was a Jacinda comment, actually. But then people started taking the piss out of me because I have a Bitcoiner as my main job title. And then I started to just dismantle people's arguments about why Bitcoin is for freedom, why it is not energy intensive. And I actually quite enjoyed that. Oh, that was actually about Ukraine.
It's about Davos. It was Klitschko, wasn't it?
It was on Vladimir Klitschko, and he didn't have many comments.
So here, let's go. Lol, you're part of a problem. Davos is a group of criminals, which is fair. And then responses from someone head of sales, Bitcoiner. Most people are blinded by patriotism, which is obviously someone who actually realized what's going on. Another one says a Bitcoiner. I mean, you says a recruiter. Sales. Agreed. Putin trolls. A Bitcoiner calling out corruption, just brilliant. That person just doesn't even understand what they're saying, do they?
I know, somehow I support Putin because I don't support.
Well, but it's also that you're a Bitcoiner calling out corruption. I mean, it's one of the primary motivations for Bitcoin. It's just like, my God, and then you've had another person having big long sentences, and then had a go at you from a Bitcoiner with no job for the last 3 years.
I saw that.
I think your response would be like, you do realize that I don't have to work.
Yeah.
That's what your response should be.
You're trying to shame me for not working for a job because I don't need to work.
But you didn't say that. You played along, and you talked around Davos and blah, blah, removing power, Bitcoin, and the actual movement. Whereas you said, you do realize I don't need a job because financially I don't have to work.
Yeah.
That would have been.
I just took the high ground and went, I can't believe you're shaming me for not having a job, yet don't count founding a company and running that instead. Yeah, why are you job shaming? You don't know my personal situation. Why are you getting personal? This is about the issue at hand, right? That Davos is a scam. Why is the fact that I do or don't have a job got anything to do with it? And and she quickly walks that back. She tries to go, oh, because you're a Bitcoin trader, you try and scam people. It's a Ponzi scheme. You try and encourage people to trade. So I count people like you, basically you have no job because you're not adding anything to the world. So again, I just come back on that and go, well, I'm none of those things. We don't encourage people to use shitcoins. We encourage people to hold Bitcoin. Oh, yes, you said, and buy luxury goods. I was like, Bitcoiners absolutely don't encourage you to buy luxury goods. We're low time preference. We have a focus on sustainability and family. We encourage people not to trade. You buy and hold it for a lifetime. And everything you've kind of set up, I think you're talking about a crypto bro. And Bitcoin is very different to that. So maybe download Bitcoin lessons and educate yourself a bit better. She refused. She was, I haven't got time to download Bitcoin lessons.
But you do have time to respond to a LinkedIn talking about something which you don't understand.
Yeah,
She's got time for
to be fair,
Love Island.
Sorry,
you know she's got time. You know she's got time for Love Island, though.
Yeah. Oh God.
Time for some aimless Facebook scrolling.
Yeah.
You're going to have that on in the background. I know you are when it hits 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Watching you get dumped from the island or voted off.
Right, anyway, are we going to get to the agenda? So talk about some of the revelations in the world of Bitcoin, about the hydropower of Bitcoin mining.
Let's do it.
Does sound like a waste of electricity, the first story. They could be making Sports Direct mugs. So I think it's another feel-good story. So from Bitcoin Magazine, SAS Mining, who are a Bitcoin mining hosting solution, sitting hydropower, and I think their kind of like aim is to sell the company ownership or shares to the public.
Yeah.
So was it retail has access to become a Bitcoin miner in a way. It's a pretty cool idea, pretty cool power source. I think everywhere's moving forward. And by the sounds of things, they built this hydro power where nothing was there before. So it's not like they've stolen it. It's not like they're taking that essential electricity away from a children's school and a hospital next door.
For me, it's kind of like the next evolution of what's going to happen in Bitcoin, and it's fantastic. You've got 2 energy stories on the agenda this week, Mr. Orlin, and people are starting to see the benefits of it, and then starting to employ ingenuity in how they find energy, and at the same time debunk the classic myth that Bitcoin is boiling the ocean. So I love it.
Yeah, the good thing about this whole story, right? So they're setting up a new mining company. There happens to be a river running by. They're going to use the river. They're going to put a man-made dam in it. They're going to try and stop the environmental damage, so that's still to be told, right? So dams do affect the natural flow of a river, and they can affect the whole ecology of it. So that's still to be seen. But they are creating their own energy. And it is SAS Mining, who is the company doing this. Are they doing this to make Bitcoin more green? Are they doing it to fight the energy flood? No. They're doing this because it's the best solution. They're moving out somewhere where land is cheap, and there happens to be no energy, so they need to create their own. And what's better to have one-off investment and then free energy forever, because the river will just keep flowing. So as we've always said, like Bitcoin is going to end up being the most carbon neutral, like the amount of energy it uses, the percent of it being carbon neutral is going to be the most of any industry. And it's not because Bitcoin wants to be green and doesn't think that using coal and gas is bad. It's just because it's the cheapest way of doing it. So it's actually hilarious that this is one of the key areas that they've chosen to attack Bitcoin on. Because for the longer they do it, and for the longer Bitcoin is around, more and more of the mining power is going to come from totally carbon neutral energy, and it's actually one of Bitcoin's strengths as opposed to its weakness. So they've really kind of messed up by doing this, because I think they obviously did it when the majority of the mining was in China, and it was coal and gas. The majority of mining.
That was many years ago, because I think it was the end of last year we were talking about the carbon footprint, and I think it was 50 to 60% was carbon neutral, and was it by 2025 it would be carbon negative because they're using things like gas flares.
It's a good point. It probably Bitcoin won't just be carbon neutral, it'll probably be carbon negative, because it's actually burning up waste that would have been shoved up into the sky as well. So it's just a matter of time. I think it's probably going to take a bit of time to play out, but probably over the next 5 years or so, I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin is carbon negative. So
But
anyone using this FUD against Bitcoin then is going to be totally just laughed out.
So what will it be? Diverting essential electricity, which could be used from something else, to Bitcoin will be the argument. But then again, especially the things which make it carbon negative, those weren't being used before. There's been no use and nothing which is adaptable to be moved in such a modular way to things like oil fields as Bitcoin miners.
These places, like they've created energy out of thin air and nobody else wants it. They're out in the middle of fucking nowhere. So yeah, but they will find a negative. Though, like they said, if it's a lot of hydro, then hydro does damage the ecology of the water and the whole kind of environment around. So they'll probably try on that one, but they can't because they're all pushing hydro and solar, so they can't nail Bitcoin.
Well, we're pushing more wind and solar is generally the two, but wind's a pile of shit. But then you've got the volcano energy, which they're exploring at the moment in El Salvador. So if anyone's missed that headline, that's I think it was they put some bonds out in order to build the infrastructure to start mining using volcano energy. So it'll be very interesting when they do that.
Yeah. It's a bit of a meme because in reality, I don't think they're going to kind of create a huge amount of energy from that. I think it's a little bit of a gimmick, but yeah. Like plug in like a massive load of expensive mining equipment just below a volcano probably isn't the smartest move. I watched a Netflix documentary where there was an active volcano. I think it was in New Zealand, and they were going over to visit it, and it went off when they were visiting it. And like 12 people died. It's just, well, yeah, what were you expecting? Like, it's an active volcano. Eventually, it was going to go off. They're like, oh, it always goes off at night, and then that day it didn't. So you don't want to really build a long-term solution at the bottom of a volcano. But the long term is going to be you build these huge mining centers somewhere cold, so you need to use less energy on cooling, and next to a river or whatever.
Well, I just wait and see what they do because I'd say our understanding of energy generation, especially around volcanoes, is minimal. So I'd wait to see what on earth they got planned because it may be groundbreaking. You never know. So I wouldn't discount it quite yet.
Yes. I don't. It's always say is that even if they manage to like maximize that, I don't think it's going to start a trend that everyone runs off to a volcano and starts plugging their miners in.
The abundance of volcanoes does not outweigh the amount of water.
Yeah, exactly, or wind or sun. Sweet, we've got another massive expansion of Bitcoin mining here. So the last one was 350 miners. This one is from CleanSpark, and they've just started construction on a site in Washington, Georgia, set to house 16,000 miners. So that is
just crazy,
incredible amount.
What do we reckon the size of that would be? Is this like football pitches size? Because I'm looking at the picture that they're showing there.
Yeah.
I don't know how many is in that, but it looks huge.
Yeah, that's a huge warehouse.
Yeah.
So kind of like I think we've covered this point as well, is the risk of being in the US. So both these are based in the US as well. They talk about all kinds of folks. It's a home of the Fed. It's a home of the IMF. And they don't like Bitcoin because it does threaten the livelihood. It threatens a Ponzi scheme. So surely opening these mining centers in the US is a bit of a risk.
It certainly
Raise a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. The US is a very interesting place because who knows, right? It's like China lost a lot of the hash power, and it seems to be America seems to be the main country that have stepped up and gone, we'll do it. But yeah, I just times that 16,000 miners by $5,000 a miner. That's 80 million. So that's 80 million just for the miners. That's not the land, the building, the cooling, the energy, however they're going to get that, all the work that's going to have to go in. So this is hundreds of millions of pounds of dollars worth.
And also, this doesn't appear to be renewables. So they're obviously being charged for energy, and with the issues around energy going on, surely it is yet another risk. But they're going to end up paying higher energy prices, whereas the example before, SAS mining using renewable, will be able to undercut them and ultimately generate more efficient mining rigs.
Well, I guess it will be the efficiency versus the volume, won't it? And that trade-off. Also, as well, being in the US, perhaps the fact that you own the land and potentially even own the electricity source that's obviously going to power these miners, you've got more control over it, as opposed to if you're in a foreign country, you might not necessarily have that same freedoms. Because again, in the US, you kind of have that, well, we say for now anyway, the authority over.
I was going to say, do you really own the land?
Cannot do it.
Do you really own the land when you have to pay taxes on it?
Yeah, America, you never own the land. It's because you always have to pay land tax and property tax forever.
Yeah.
It's like a couple of percent every single year is just what you have to pay them. And what could happen? Like, so if you're going to follow the trend, right? So most of the mining went to China. What did China's government do? They banned it. Now, a lot of that mining, in the first instance, I think it spread across Europe, but I think America now are really starting to ramp up. It takes one bit of legislation from the US government to ban Bitcoin mining. And all this money, it becomes a federal criminal, you can go to prison type offense just for running a business now. You have to switch everything off.
Yeah.
That's 80 million worth of miners just sat there switched off. And even though they're building the latest tech, they get out of date very quick. They have to be refreshed every 3 to 5 years.
And we know how the US loves its legislation, which can be passed within a couple of hours of being written, such as subsidies for salmon farming, bee-friendly highways, and 2.6 billion for the prosecution of January 6th, split amongst 1,000 lawyers.
In gender studies, billion. But yeah, so it's great news because it's obviously very bullish, like we said before. Whenever we see new Bitcoin miners, and both of these things aren't live yet, they're still being built. That just shows how bullish these people are. They're investing huge amounts of money in Bitcoin mining, and essentially, Bitcoin's low, right? It's 70-80% down in price from all-time highs. Yet these people are loading up. Then these miners will not pay back this type of investment for years to come. That's how long it tends to take. So these guys have got huge skin in the game. It's a massive bullish signal that Bitcoin is coming back, and when it comes back, it's going to be harsh. It's going to rip us.
So anyone who's listening and you haven't bought Bitcoin today or this week, now's the time. It's on sale. I bought my Bitcoin in just at the start of the pod when I remembered to do my DCA. We're currently at 18.6k pounds. So still massive fire sale going on. The CEO of Bitcoins reduces prices, but all stock must go.
I'm still locked out on my Coinbase. I realized I had 19 pounds of Bitcoin sat in there. I think it's from the last couple of shitcoin lessons that I'd forgotten. So I got that off.
Still none the wiser, by the way, as to why.
No idea. No, weirdly they did let me withdraw it. They let me take the 19 pounds of Bitcoin off, but buying and selling anymore, completely banned.
So you're banned?
Well, it just says I'm under review. But I've been under review for at least a week, probably for months. I just didn't realize.
I remember a friend of mine, actually, I think it was months within order to take money out. So yeah, it's a good thing that you managed to sort off.
Yeah. The weird thing is I normally this happens when you're signing up, or it's normally in that onboarding process, right? I've had an account with them for literally nearly a decade and traded a huge amount through that platform, and everything's been completely legit. And then seemingly in a period where I've kind of done nothing, there's like a whole period of kind of nothingness on Coinbase, that's when they banned me and suddenly put my account under review. It's very, very odd.
Do you think the 4Bs has gotten traction with somebody within Coinbase.
Yeah, I haven't slagged them off that badly anyway. What they care. If anything, I obviously I know I bought a house this year. That's flagged me off in every fraud database there is, and I think they've gone and had a look to see where I trade the most, and they've gone, we want to review his account. We want to check his account and make sure when his tax return comes through, it matches up. I can almost guarantee that's what's happening. So
yeah,
that's why I pay my taxes. So I know they're
or as we discussed last week, the US wants to cut its budget deficit in half.
Anyway,
cool. Well, that's yeah. I was just going to say that's 2 energy articles that we've just covered over there. But let's move the energy over to the WEF and what's been going on over there, right?
Well, from the news on Twitter of what I've read, is there's been record amounts of escorts flowing into Davos.
Exactly. There has been indeed some private planes landing on the strip. Now that's a lot of carbon energy going down.
Do we actually know numbers for this one? Because obviously COP26 or whatever it's called, they can pick that out. You know, they can go to the local airport, whereas Davos is quite a protected area because they fly in. There's not an airport near Davos, so then they have to taxi out, get a boat, and then a taxi at the end. So they get basically chauffeur driven to a boat, go on a private boat, and then go in a chauffeur driven again. And I doubt they have minibuses for these kind of people. They don't sit in a minibus on each other's laps.
No. Yeah.
But it would be interesting though, Justin Trudeau sitting on Klaus Schwab's knee.
Come on, his head would be between his knees.
Yeah.
You earn that prime minister position, you little bitch. But yeah, so surprise that they've all met. We've got 2 little mini stories really from there. So they were chatting. I watched numerous videos on it. I just was more and more shocked and horrended by every single video I saw. But this one we've just pulled out is they call for urgent regulation of Bitcoin. They see it as a big problem and we need to further regulate it. We know what they mean by regulation. Really what they mean is they want to stifle it. They want to stifle its growth. They want to make it more difficult to use. And they'll use the guise of, oh, it's criminals, money laundering, In reality, it's a threat to them. And they want to try and stop its adoption. And regulation's a great way because you can make it very clunky to onboard. You could even ban it completely in certain countries. And yeah, it looks like that's what they're trying to do.
I mean, clearly we all know that it can't be stopped. But the fact is, these guys think they can do something to really ban it. And it's like,
it'd be the
banning it is futile.
It would be making sure people have to keep their Bitcoin on exchanges. But all we're going to see is a kind of semi-black market emerge. You know, like you think about us and any listeners, we're going to move our Bitcoin off the exchanges if we've got any straight away. When we get a whisper of this, and then put it on ledgers, and it's never going to go on exchanges again. If you want to buy some, you're going to do peer-to-peer. So I think there's always going to be a way around it. You could end up buying your Bitcoin through Tor.
Yeah.
It's actually another reason to buy now. Just buy it whilst the gates are all open. You know, it's as easy as signing up for a bank account. Just sign up for any exchange you want, really. Just sign up, buy some Bitcoin, send it to your ledger. And in the moment, it's very simple to do. If you fast forward a couple of years, who knows? As the adoption grows, the price of Bitcoin will grow. These guys are going to try and make it harder. And there's going to be loads of hoops to go through. And yeah,
we discussed about,
and it's a classic, isn't it? When it's harder to get and people, it's like when a film gets banned.
Yeah,
it's like, you know, it's all of a sudden, yeah, it goes viral. Oh right, I want to get on top. I want to get on this, and it's just going to go through the roof, right?
Yeah, there's going to be ways to buy it. You know, they can't stop that.
It's going to be
it'd be like drug dealers would be introducing to a mate or something who has Bitcoin because they're a miner, and you're like buying directly from them. They're like, oh, where's this money going? It's like, he drew me a nice picture, so I gave him $5,000.
Yeah. Well, it's almost going to go back to the old days where like I was sending money to Estonia. You got to wait 3 days. Fucking it arrives and you can buy it, and then you want to get any money back, it takes 7 days. If you want to get your Bitcoin out, it takes 3 days. It's really clunky back in the day. At the moment, it's so fucking easy to buy Bitcoin. Just do it. It's going to get harder, and like I said, it's going to be the same type of thing where you're trusting people abroad. You're going to have to try and build relationships. It's going to be loads of scams. At the moment, there's some really good exchanges. You know, just the top 10, pretty solid. Obviously, don't trust them for more than 10 minutes. Get your money in, buy your Bitcoin, get it off. And you should be fine. And don't do your fucking life savings all in one go. Just in case in that 10 minutes, at the 10 minutes, it fucking goes down like an FTX. But, you know, just split it into pieces, get your fiat on, buy your Bitcoin, send it off, rinse and repeat until you're happy with how much Bitcoin you have. But yeah, because they are coming for it. That's the thing, right? They are coming. They can't ban it. Like Bitcoin will carry on, but they own the onboarding
on
kind of,
ramps. Yeah, 100%.
because they are regulated right now. And they can just make it illegal overnight that you buying Bitcoin or taking Bitcoin off an exchange is now illegal. And yeah, and then the CEOs of these companies will have to comply.
Funnily enough, so last week I had a direct quote in sentiment from India from speaking to somebody that worked in an exchange. This week I've got a direct quote from somebody in Australia, and this is because they said that during lockdown, people have started to get more and more. And you know, this is actually a good term to use, woke, as to what's going on with the banks and obviously how the government is trying to control them. So people are using Bitcoin more and more. So it's been a good thing. It's opened a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah, I think the whole last 2 years, a lot of skepticism in government has really risen. And that naturally, if you keep following it for long enough, you end up in Bitcoin.
Yeah. And so I'm following the local laws pretty closely and just asking them as well. And I always ask, you know, what's the sentiment there from the people? And yeah, it's clear to see that they want to find a way out. And the way out, if what they've found is Bitcoin.
Nice. Sweet. So our next one is talking about the banks. Jamie Dimon. This is a great little 2-minute clip, right? Because these people on CNBC, they're normally pretty Bitcoin skeptical. Sometimes they've had pomp on and they can kind of be a little bit bullish. But it's interesting because they're normally mainly bearish, really. They're not massive believers in Bitcoin. But then they've had Jamie Dimon on, which is he's the CEO of JP Morgan, I think, or one of the big banks.
I think the main guy that talks quite often, I think it's because of the work that he's been doing or has done around FTX. And so they've gone off and they've realized themselves now. And normally newsreaders and reporters only, you know, they're quite vanilla, aren't they? But they're actually giving their own opinion as to what people should be doing, and of course where Jamie Dimon is wrong, and equally why isn't he paying more attention to it. It's a shame when I was watching and listening to the clip that it didn't reel off some of the key investors and I guess Jamie Dimon's peers clearly that have changed and done a 180 and are now into Bitcoin, and they have been fully orange pilled, because I think that he is also going to be probably ridiculed from this clip. You know, don't talk to me about it. I'm fed up. Move on.
You're making out like it will be ridiculed in the future. It should be ridiculed just on this clip alone.
Oh,
so what 100%. we've got hyped up fraud, a pet rock. he starts talking about the blockchain, but it's pretty much Bitcoin popularized the blockchain, but they have been around since, was it the 80s? How do you know it's going to stop at 21 million?
I mean, that was ridiculous, that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a question because I think we covered this probably about a year ago. So what happens if you end up with a load of bad actors who take over the miners and they start setting up new rules? You end up with a hard fork. So the Bitcoiners go, fuck your hard fork. I'm going to what Bitcoin actually is. You can have whatever the hell you've just created. And that's, so that's why we won't end up with more than 21 million coins, just in case anyone's wondering. But it did make me wonder, how the hell is he as CEO of JP Morgan? I thought he would have been more well-versed and he would have got some policy or regulatory expert or some, eco expert or something to give him all the FUD and, give him some really outstanding position so he could actually say it. But what he said was like literally the level which my dad would say.
Yeah, because though I did like the one time bit I thought was a little bit clever is he only said the word decentralized once, and he said it about something that isn't decentralized. Because they asked him about FTX, he went, "Oh, it's a decentralized exchange that was just a massive Ponzi scheme." There's nothing decentralized about FTX. It's the one thing that they didn't claim. They were a centralized exchange. That there's a company, right? There's a group of people that work there, very clearly centralized, single point of failure. That's exactly why Bitcoin is not built that way. So one person can't run amok and just gamble all the money and make the entire thing worthless. But I just find it amazing that someone in his position, obviously, he was very high up in the banks during the 2008 banking crisis, right? Where millions of people lost their homes, millions of people just lost their jobs during the entire recession, which is from people like him were gambling and selling on bad debt and wrapped up in bad debt, just a massive Ponzi scheme of debt, essentially, and it all collapsed. And the only reason that it didn't go the way of FTX, where it was even worse, is that the government just printed a fuck ton of money. So the people that still had a bit of money just lost 10 or 20% of their wealth, and it got given to the banks to survive. Yet he describes the collapse of FTX being really disgraceful. There's lots of low income, minority groups lost a load of money, and we should really be stopping this and just banning it and just getting rid of these Ponzi schemes, including Bitcoin and all that. And I go, you know what? If you were just an outsider, like, maybe you could have that view, and I'd be a little bit sympathetic. Dude, you work for the banks. You're the worst culprits for fucking over low-income minority people. You prey on them, get them into a lifetime of debt, and let the rich and powerful just walk around with high interest rates and free debt. That's 0%. Saylor is a good example. He probably went to JP Morgan when he bought his $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. Try and do that when you're minimum wage. Get a loan for $5,000 at 0%. That'll be 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. They prey on, that's why they make all their money, prey on the low-income people. And to say that Bitcoin is preying on low-income people and kind of scamming them in a Ponzi scheme, bro, we're doing the opposite. We're getting them away from the predators like you and bring them to a place where they're equal as everyone else. Everyone that's a Bitcoiner is the same as everyone else. We all got sats. You can do whatever the fuck you want with them. No one's going to take them. No one's going to suspend them. And we all get to live and appreciate the gains as we take dinosaurs like him down.
Yeah. Do you think he'll ever be replaced by a Bitcoiner?
No, a Bitcoiner wouldn't be the head of a bank. No.
Well, the point is, like, the big banks, their business is creating wealth out of nothing, isn't it? And their business is loaning money. It is making dodgy investments. So literally, I think when you go to hyper-Bitcoinization, there isn't money to be made from nothing. You go into basic loans, like if you take out a loan, it's 5 to 10% interest. It's not at 1% or 0.5. It's generally you're going to have to pay to borrow my money because there's a risk about you losing it. And then you're not going to come up with silly financial products because people aren't gambling away their wealth in order to potentially be able to retire 5 years earlier because they know what it takes to make them retire. So I think I think Bitcoin really just destroys the banking industry, apart from the basics, which is, well, could be storing, but it'd have to be some really good way of so they couldn't steal it, and then also loans.
What I mean, by the way, as well, is there will be employees, of course, in JP Morgan and BlackRock and Vanguard that are Bitcoiners. And these people will eventually move on, die out, retire, and their thoughts will be brought to the forefront. So effectively, they may have the ear of the CEO or become the CEO.
He's 66, he's got another 20 years.
These policies, well, of course, in 20 years, when we're recording on a Tuesday in 20 years, we'll be doing it from a private island by that point.
Yeah, the thing you've got to remember with the banks, right? The banks are essentially the government. So it's like trying to say that the government might become Bitcoin friendly. Yeah, because these people are going to retire, move over, and some Bitcoiners are going to get voted in. No, they're not, because the entire thing is rigged. And there's just a very select amount of people that will ever get any press attention to enable them to get into power. It's the same for the top of the banks. You can get Bitcoiners rise up and be probably senior managers, maybe even a director, but you're not going to get to be in a proper control where you're managing policy, regulation, and the core products of that bank. You're not going to get anywhere near those echelons. They are protected for the people that are kind of approved, WEF stamped, right? So you're not going to get near there. So you're not going to really change that. And anyway, why would we even want to, right? We're not trying to change the fiat world. We're building a Bitcoin standard and letting their one just collapse because we're building a significantly better competitor of an economy and a financial state than they have. So we're just going to build our one over here, and all the customers are going to move.
But that's my point. Don't you think rather than when they realise that they can't beat us, they'll join us and therefore they'll offer something? Or will they just die and collapse in there?
The problem is, like Dr. 10% just said, like their product offerings are they don't work in our world. They're literally selling horses and we're moving to cars. So we don't want your products. We don't want to get into debt. We don't want credit cards. We don't want mortgages.
But putting a different spin, like they want to survive as a business, don't they, with control. So what they're going to do, like their last dying gasp of air, they're going to try and buy as much Bitcoin as they can so they can loan it to get their 5 to 10% returns. Or they're going to try and buy as much Bitcoin with their printed money so they can control government still.
Exactly, because they're super not liquid, but the fact that they could easily even try to short the market or obviously buy into the market.
Yeah, the problem is there's no way of the bank surviving, right? If people move to Bitcoin standard and where people hold custody, the banks make a huge amount of their money, obviously in debt and just holding people's deposits, right? They just invest all that money, trillions and trillions of dollars is just in deposits that they invest, move around, make a couple of percent. If that all just goes away and credit cards kind of go away and suddenly people aren't getting as many mortgages and all that, it's just they are so set up. They are such huge infrastructure. They can't scale back down. A couple of the challenger banks that have popped up, like the Monzos and Revoluts, they might survive like the transition because they're small enough and agile enough. The big banks, and in reality, half of the banks only ever survive because they get massive
propped up.
Yeah, massive government subsidies. So once they're gone, because the problem is their fiat's going to be worthless, right? Everyone's going to want their Bitcoin, and they're not going to have any.
Well, I'll look forward to a time when Jamie is cleaning the deck of my boat. When I say my boat, I mean my backup boat, which gets towed behind my actual yacht.
Yeah, man. But the boat that lives inside you have a bigger boat.
No, it gets towed behind. I don't want him on my actual boat.
I know you want to drive it in. Just you keep him in, like, the squalor. Like hollow out one of your toilets and just like have it just land into his room.
think that would be Justin Castro's room.
He's making out down there with Jacinda.
Oh God. Feeding pony.
Webbing scattered all over
Oh.
Will you be playing Bitcoin music naturally?
I'll be like, you
Through the
gotta
toilet,
pump
yes.
it up. You gotta
Exactly.
pump it up. On his face.
Hitting all-time lows of the 4Bs tonight.
Yeah, new lows.
Do we want to move on to Nigeria?
Okay, I was just getting into your porn scene with Jacinda, but all right, let's move on.
What me providing the lube?
Yeah. Yeah.
What, in the form of scat?
Oh.
Tasty.
So Nigeria,
insert meme. In that pause, insert meme.
Going to Nigeria, I found this a little bit of a confusing article to start off with because I thought it was going to go one way, but then it went a completely different way. So Nigerian have reduced withdrawals to $44 per week. And I thought this was leading towards CBDCs, but it's a change of currency and it's very unclear on why. So they're saying that so the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, says the cash withdrawal restrictions will also allow the CBN to work more closely with the National Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to crack down on unlawful transactions. So it's actually starting to go, well, this may be permanent. This may be like the $600 limit where your transactions are investigated, which they're proposing in the US.
Yeah.
So like I said, I thought it's CBDCs, but they're replacing the notes, which people have seen and said these can be counterfeited quite easily, but they're saying, well, actually they can't. But I did think that it was them pushing, saying you can't use physical cash now, you're going to have to use CBDCs. Or is this note going to be a way to lead in to CBDCs very easily? It was very hard to figure out what was going on in this article.
Yeah, there's a little video at the end that's about the Inara, which is Nigeria's digital currency even. So that seems to be...
Who's Nigel?
Nigel in Nigeria.
I know. I've got
Nigel of Nigeria.
Yeah, I wonder how many Nigels are in Nigeria.
No.
But yeah, so it does talk about their digital currency. I don't know if that's the CBDC or not, but yeah, it's obviously when they start stopping withdrawals, normally when they've done this before in other countries, I think they did it in India. They pause withdrawals and essentially they issue a new form of currency, and all the other forms they've actually become worthless. They literally go, oh yeah, we've just because I think they had notes that went down, like instead of like in the UK we have coins. They basically went, oh yeah, if you've got any 50p's, pounds or £2, they're just not valid now. So it's a great way of just wiping off, like via essentially inflation. You just go,
yeah,
we know there's X
they
billion.
gave a month to they gave a month,
Yeah.
and there's going to be various people who won't get round to doing it. There'll be cash here and there, which they won't realise about.
Banks
So
are
they're wiping
closed.
out. So they're wiping 5 to 10% out easily.
Yeah, it's a great way of just killing it because I can guarantee the new form of cash, it will start at a higher denomination that is normal. So all these people rushing to withdraw the money, it's one of them where it's like it's dodgy, right? Because it makes sure you get it in high denominations, or because there's no guarantee that the $44 you get out is going to be worth anything when they switch.
Yeah.
The only way to be guaranteed is if you can somehow get into Bitcoin. And then you're going to be good. Just I would just get out any money you got in the Nigerian, the Naira, just get it out of that if you can. But it's because it's kind of crazy, right? Because it says like the 44 withdrawal, but I think that's even digitally, isn't it? Like you can't even withdraw. It's not even like in cash. If you want to take out money to just spend in your day-to-day life, this $44 daily limit is there, And I think they have, what is it? It's like,
so you recommend it might be
So
trashing
this
savings.
actually, yeah, exactly. This actually reminds me of, again, the conversation that I was having last week with my Indian contact, who said that people were so infuriated with Dodi, where he tried to wipe out the $500 and $1,000 rupee notes, that they burnt the money. They didn't give it in. They were like, no, fuck you, because they introduced, to your point, the $2,000 rupee note. So the higher denomination. So we've seen it happen before. And what I like about this is the fact that we now know what is going to happen because we've seen it happen in other jurisdictions. So we're seeing it in India, we're seeing it in Nigeria, but equally what we're also seeing is people moving to Bitcoin. So the play will be exactly the same. And no doubt we're going to see it eventually where the £5 note might get removed and it'll be the introduction of a £100 note. You know, these things will eventually happen, whether it's here or another jurisdiction. And you've just got to remember what happened before. Yeah, India perhaps were the first, but I'm sure they weren't the first because it happened in Argentina before, or Venezuela.
Here's another thing as well, which I picked up in the article. Once again, very hard to read, but the amount of inflation, it claims 21.5% is the official figure in Nigeria. Now, here's a quote. From 2015 through 2022, Nigeria public debt profile soared from about 12.6 trillion naira to 44 trillion. So we've had an increase of almost 36 trillion.
What are you saying? It's normal.
Now, so it's tripled the amount of debt. So you don't know what it means, though. Like there could be 1,000 trillion naira. So it's a smaller percentage. But then it says 2 paragraphs below, the total money supply is somewhere around 46 trillion naira. So if you printed 36 and the total supply is 46, you've made, what is that, about 78%, 70 to 80% of the country's money within 7 years. So it's not 21.5%. This one is going parabolic. Like it's literally going through the roof. And I read this and went, am I reading this right? So I thought I'd raise it. But yeah, within 7 years, they've, what do we say, 36. So yeah, about 70, 80% of the currency has been made.
Yeah. Well, the US printed another 50% within 2 years during COVID. The numbers are fucking insane.
But
and
they didn't even do anything in Nigeria during COVID.
Yeah, I know. They I think it's just Nigeria being Nigeria. They love hyperinflation over there.
But here's another stat from
it's
the
just corruption,
article.
isn't it? It even says in the article, it's like the government, their government is just known to be outright corrupt, just printing money, give it to themselves. Yeah. They don't even pretend there's a pandemic or a war going on. They just print it and give it to themselves.
Yeah.
So this is for the normal people. So there's a monetary supply of 46 trillion. You think, what is it, about 200 million people in Nigeria, and outside the banks. So this is holding cash, and it's going to be more about the normal people, the plebs who can't have bank accounts. There's 2.7 trillion naira. So all the effort being spent on the cash is only 6% of the money supply. So it's got to be a push onto the CBDC. But you know, some things which I don't know if they did on purpose or which they accidentally dropped in the article, the inflation is just unbelievable. This is why Bitcoin exists.
Yeah. What's funny about that stat, right, is that only 6% of the money that exists is in cash. I would guess a lot of transactions that happen in Nigeria are done in cash. So I would actually guess the majority, if anything, of the economy really is about 6% of the total money supply, because the rest of the money isn't in supply. It's all just sat with very, very rich individuals that have huge companies, probably assets all over the place. So they're not part of the economy. They're just sat on huge wealth, occasionally spending a little bit and fluttering it in, but by and large, just sat on huge amounts of wealth. The majority of the millions and millions of people that exist in Nigeria, they're the 6%. That's the money. That's the real money transacting every day. The other 94% is just sat at the top, freaking collecting interest.
It's funny you say that as well, because again, what happened in India is the reason as to why they were doing it was so that they could count the money in circulation. So they knew what they had, but by the rest of the money coming in to then be transferred out for the newer higher denomination, it allowed them to make those equations.
Yeah, that was going to be
That's a
point.
very good point.
The other point is control.
They probably printed so much bloody money they don't really know, but it is 2.7 trillion naira.
Yeah, well, I think it's more like, yeah, they do want to count, but it's mainly just control, right? They have all the money. They literally have it all. But now there's a case of, right, we need a compliant population, and they're actually existing on 6% of the money is just running our country. We have 94% of it. They're running around, and at the moment, they're starting protests, they're trying to overthrow us, all this type of stuff. It's still a case of, right, we know that kind of doing anything to the 6% isn't going to materially change our lives financially. So they're not doing it for money anymore. They've had that over the last probably number of decades, just printing money, giving it to themselves, happy days. But now they've got to a point of, well done, we kind of need to control these idiots. They're starting to rise up. Some of them are actually starting to manage to save and build the odd thing, even though we're inflating their money. Like, some of them are actually working around this. Got a feeling some of them have got Bitcoin somewhere. Like, they're figuring this out. So they just need to take away that support mechanism, basically ban cash and move in something that is a government issued currency. So they're moving on the control angle, I think. Here.
They want the CBDC because that's the ultimate in control. Like, I'd love to know from any CBDC supporting listeners, which there definitely won't be at this time. But what is the benefit of a CBDC? There's nothing which a CBDC can do which you can't do with cash, PayPal, Venmo, or anything else at the moment. There's no reason. You can expand the monetary supply. You can do what they called drops into people's accounts if you really wanted. No reason, but it's all about tracking those transactions and locking you down when they want. And I think it's also, my big suspicion is it's control businesses. So to hide the inflation figures. So whilst they're siphoning money out, putting control. Oh, the price of beef started to go up because we've been printing loads of money. No one can buy beef for the next 2 weeks.
But
Mr. Orlin, I think you should do a Twitter poll and a LinkedIn poll and a poll anywhere else which somebody may answer between what has more utility, a CBDC or an NFT?
Trick question, neither.
Oh, exactly.
Or just, answers please. What is the utility of a CBDC?
Yeah,
on LinkedIn,
exactly.
I'd love a LinkedIn one. They'd be like, but Davos says a CBDC can help the people and enslave you.
Literally, all they've got is but blockchain. They're literally riding on but blockchain. Blockchain fixes everything. It's fiat on the blockchain. And most people, when you say that to them, are like, oh, right, yeah. The next evolution. It's like saying, oh, before we had Bitcoin, or we had money, and now we've got money on the internet. You're like, oh, okay, yeah. I see. Like, having money on the internet is super valuable. But we pretty
much got that anyway. It's just a way of really controlling everything, shutting out banks, shutting out businesses, and it's literally with a command, bang, things are stopped, things are closed down, you're naughty, or this supplier's naughty, therefore we're cutting their funding. It's ultimate control.
I didn't catch up with you guys, but last week after the pod, I had somebody that tried to sell to me that they were a consultant, a crypto consultant, but they weren't aware that I was obviously quite au fait with what is going on in the world of obviously Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And I asked him, so he gave his little spiel about who he is and what he does. So I asked him, so what do you think about NFTs? And then he was just like, well, they just work, don't they? They just work. That was his response. But he was like,
do you ask him like what's the definition of work? Like what is working here?
Yeah. I drew it down to him, and like in the end, he was like proper. Well, I don't think that there's a match between us, and I don't think that there's going to be any synergy because clearly you're a Bitcoiner. But he was going on like, oh, and Bitcoin, yeah, it's the first one, but it's going to get overturned, and the flipping's happening, and the numbers the numbers are showing it, and I was on this call with somebody else. I was like, this guy has no clue whatsoever. But what he was saying, I'm sure, will fool some people.
I don't. Do you know what? I don't even think that he's trying to fool you. I think he believes it.
Yeah.
But it's also the flipping. It's going back to it, Ethereum. Like I don't get what Ethereum is. It wants to be everything, but it's nothing. I think that's what people don't really understand. They say, "Oh, Ethereum, it's the second biggest." It's like, I support the underdog. It's just like, what does it do?
It moved to, well, the thing is that we don't talk about shitcoins anymore, so we need to be careful. But the whole Ethereum 2.0 has already happened, I think. When this was meant to be it. They're proof of stake, not proof of work. What happened? Oh, guess what? They have no use case. There's no viable projects that work on there. Guess what? Money on the blockchain was the single use case, and it had to be decentralized. All the other shitcoins, not only are they trying to be more than money, they're not decentralized. So there's inefficient databases running websites. Fucking dumb. So dumb. Anyway, we want to move on to Peter Thiel.
Yeah, let's do it. So this was an interesting one with Peter Thiel. He did a crypto gamble nearly 8 years ago, and seems to have sold his crypto back in March 2022, just before the market crash. Now I don't think we get a significant figure, do we, of how much? But of course, in those
1.8 billion.
Sorry, yeah, 1.8 billion.
We don't know what he brought for, but he sold it.
Yeah,
1.8 billion.
Yeah.
If it's 8 years ago, it's probably about I don't know, like 100 million, 200 million he put in. He's getting at least 10x his money, probably more like 20x. So
yeah. Now, someone like him, where do you think that he's getting his information from to then decide March 2022, I'm getting out?
When we look at it, we had the double peak, and then we had the decrease when everyone's going, oh God. And then it had a slight rebound, and he sold on the rebound.
Yeah.
So I generally think it was timed. He was looking for a little bit of a peak, and bang, he was out because he's like, we're about to hit a crypto winter. So I think it was, whilst it was a gamble, it was maybe educated in a way.
Yeah.
But still not one which I personally would take myself, because I wouldn't be confident we wouldn't immediately go back up. But a man who's just made 1.8 billion, he can take risks.
Yeah.
And he'll probably have bought back in, which, this doesn't talk about buying back in at all, does it?
No. And chances are, like, I think he personally, this is obviously his fund. So, and the thing is, Founders Fund is what it's called. And yeah, I think you're right. I think he was watching the charts, because it's November 2021 was the peak. We had a downturn, and then we come up around March. And I think he looks back on all the charts. And if you do look up on Bitcoin, like, no one kind of believed it at the time, but it was following the same model as before, where we have these peaks in November, December, and then it's down only for about 18 months, and then we start another bull market. And I think he saw the bear market coming and just went, let's cash in and return a load of money to our investors, which is fair enough. He doesn't talk about his personal Bitcoin, because the thing that I remember, like, one of his speeches in Bitcoin Miami. I don't know if it was this year or last year or the year before. I think it was last year, which is after he sold, technically. He was very bullish on Bitcoin. He was saying the banks were bust, money is bust, Bitcoin's the future. He was very, very bullish on Bitcoin. And for anyone that doesn't know, Peter Thiel is the guy that pretty much founded PayPal with Elon Musk. So he's the unknown guy. Elon Musk is the most highest profile person probably in the world.
Yeah.
Peter Thiel is his business partner and is just as smart as Elon, and has gone on to do kind of crazy things. And he's invested in just about every big company that's ever existed. He's got so much money, it's kind of ridiculous. The only thing that's surprising about this is they only made 1.8 billion. I thought they'd have invested that much and would be coming out with tens, if not hundreds of billions out of Bitcoin, and he could have really changed the price if he'd have decided to sell. But it is a little bit bearish seeing someone like this dump out, because Peter Thiel is not someone that falls for FUD. But I do think he's just followed technical analysis, and I think he's seen a recession happening with the world. I think he's seen the state of various countries' economies, and I think he's gone, yeah, we're hitting a recession here. We're going to hit bad times. Before we do that, looking at the chart for Bitcoin, the likelihood is we go down from here for about 2 or 3 years. Let's cash in some profit. So I think that's what he's done. So it's not great for Bitcoin, and he's probably one of the reasons why we went down so low, selling 1.8 billion. I don't know how when he sold that. It says March 2022, but I doubt he sold that all in one go, right? He's probably selling it between November and March, so probably when we hit that 69K, he might have well been the top. He might have been the guy that went, that's enough. I'm going to start selling my exposure now. And he took us down. He kind of took off the bull run. But I would like to know, I'd love an interview with Peter Thiel and go, but personally, do you still have the Bitcoin that you hold? I reckon he does.
Classic.
Yeah. It's also, has the fund bought back in on what they perceive to be the bottom? I'd love to know that.
Yeah, that's a good question as well, yeah.
I mean, ultimately, we have had a bit of a pump in the last 2 weeks, so somebody's buying back in. And of course, the news from the Fed has meant that it's made an increase. Rates cannot continue at the rate that they are in terms of the increase, although it is said that at the beginning of Feb they're going to raise it another 1/4 point. So, effectively Bitcoin is getting back to where it was pre-FTX collapse.
Yeah, money printer go burr. Weirdly, it's so weird because I always I don't like to have the fact the money printer going burr is correlated to bullish Bitcoin action, but it just seems to be. The second they print money, everyone just gets super bullish, and the price is fucking balloons. Obviously, that's why we freaking hit all-time highs when 80% of the economy was fucking shut down and no one was going to work. Everyone's shut at home. And Bitcoin's at all-time high because they were printing so much money. Some of it finds its way down to the plebs, and we just fucking buy Bitcoin with it. And then the problem is the free money runs out. Everyone has to start buying their food and freaking their electricity bill again. And fucking price tanks. Print that money. Print that money.
So have they actually got that bill in America?
Yeah.
The one which what was it? The salmon subsidiaries, the bee-friendly highways.
Yeah, it's all gone through. Yeah,
the gender equality and gender studies in Pakistan. The 2.6 billion for investigating January the 6th, which I just think is the most insane thing ever.
It's crazy, that, isn't it?
Considering that the government has banks of judges and lawyers working for them.
Yeah.
So where's that money going?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, I saw it's being disputed, isn't it? Like the Conservatives apparently are going, what we're doing is printing more money. And I saw Elizabeth Warren on Twitter today going, "Oh, Donald Trump printed loads of money the last 2 years, and you all approved it. Now we want to print some. You don't like it." You just go, you forced him to shut down the whole fucking economy. Of course, you have to print some money to give it out to people and just to keep businesses afloat. Like, you printed money and you approved it too. And now, supposedly, you're out the other side and you still want to print a fuck ton of money as if 80% of the economy is still closed. Trillions.
But that money will just go to banks and it won't come into the economy. Therefore, inflation won't go up.
Oh, yeah, it's different dollars, isn't it? Yeah, it's like dollars. I forgot they're different types of dollars. That's fine then. Print as many of the bank dollars as you want. Hold on, where's the bank put them? Oh, shit.
What, they somehow creep into the economy?
You mean they loan them out to me? Oh, fuck, no. That means, oh, no.
I have to actually take a responsibility and accountability. Nah, I don't want that.
So, the problem is like they're so good. Like when I watch little Elizabeth Warren's little freaking minute video today on Twitter, they're so confident and they turn it, and they're so clever in the fact they always make it divisive, right? So this bringing Trump into it, going, "Oh, Trump printed money, and all the people that supported Trump now don't want this." And you go, no, like people didn't want Trump to print either, really. Just because he did it doesn't mean you can do it. And it was bad when he did it because he shouldn't have locked down the economy anyway. He shouldn't have listened. And he did. He printed money. And now the economy isn't shut down. You still want to print a shit ton of money.
I think
People
they
are
want to
going,
print
it's bad
even
again.
more.
If you actually listen to the people, like, and the people don't want money, like government to print money ever, really. Although, to be fair, like a lot of the NPCs do because they
don't understand it.
Yeah, they don't. They just hear that, oh, your public services are going to get better, and you go, okay, fine, deflate my money by 10%. That's fine.
Or we're going to get an extra 50 quid this week.
Yeah, I'm going to get a stimmy check of $800, but all the money printing which I've had is probably going to affect me around about 80 grand over my lifetime.
Yeah.
One thing actually, I had my winter electricity. Electricity. Yeah, I pay for my gas separate. I'm in fucking credit. I've got so many government subsidies that I haven't applied for any of this shit. But like,
interesting.
I made money over.
Are you not enjoying Christmas on the teat of the government? All this free money.
I know. I obviously I would have applied for it if I knew it all existed. I didn't apply for any of it.
It automatically goes on your account, I think, with gas and electricity.
It does, yeah. It does. I can just see it. Like my bills are coming in.
So what you're saying is you're quite pro-government.
I'm saying.
How does that teat taste?
How's that?
Saying I don't know how my electricity bill is in credit. I just think it's fucking bizarre. Yeah. And the thing is, it's stupid, right? Because I can afford to pay it. They shouldn't be paying my energy bill. It's just another like example of incompetency because I'm paying a huge fucking tax bill like at the moment. And I've got £67 a month coming in on free fucking government handouts into my energy. Like, what's going on here? Why are they doing that?
It's so you rely on them. So it's building that like kind of like a net of being you have to be enabled by the government. So it's one for the over 65s, you get a free winter allowance, don't you, for electricity? Yeah. You think for people in the 20s, 30s, 40s, you get free childcare. For your whole life, you get NHS. So it's kind of like you're reliant upon the government, so you believe that you depend upon the government.
Yeah.
But it's actually just your money, and you're probably getting about 20% efficiency on the taxes which you pay.
Oh yeah. If at best, yeah. It's just, but the thing is, like, the only reason I bring it up is it just shows their incompetence, right? Because if they,
no, it's not incompetent.
No,
but on purpose.
Yeah. But I know, but to me, right, for my personal situation, they are not changing my life by putting £67 a month into my energy bill. They clearly can see.
But if you didn't understand inflation, you think, oh, the government's really nice to me.
Yeah, maybe
that government tea tastes really sweet.
Yeah, but then my tax bill would be like, yeah, they fucking hate me. Like they're taking a huge amount of money here, and like £67 a month is just an insult, really.
Well, you got to help the rest of the people, especially those MPs, ministers, members of a government, friends of a government.
Yeah.
They're all in that trough, eating that Mr. All-In slosh.
Oh, man, they're gonna have one hell of a birthday party for Boris on my fucking tax return. The fuckers. Anyway, should we have a look at someone's first time buying Bitcoin on Robinhood via Reddit? I was actually surprised the story stayed up for long enough for us actually to review it, because I thought he'd delete this post. It's so bad. Did you manage to figure it out? I can overview it.
Well, I read it and I was just like going, they bought 3.64 Bitcoin in their first buy.
Mm.
And then I was like, this is weird. And they've got it online and people are saying, get it off Robinhood as soon as you can. Don't hold it on Ledger. I couldn't see anything. I was like, there must be something else. I went into this guy's history and I'm like, he didn't really post. And he's had a spate of posting lately. He's bought a shitload of Dogecoin. He split with his girlfriend. He had his grand's or nan's wedding ring, which almost went to his nan. And then
you went deep. You went deep into this guy's history.
It's about 6 posts down. And that was about £5,000. And then he's on about different types of cars. So he's like
Dr. Evil 10% doing it for Pod 83. I had to go to the toilet before, right? So apologies, I'm here drinking. But ultimately, you've changed, Dr. Evil 10%. I mean, you were so pro-government before, and now I feel like you're Dr. Evil 110%.
Oh, funny enough, I had this conversation with my dad at the weekend. So he was over and I sent him this link from Sky, which shows who's bought your MP. And he's like, it's not that.
Oh, yeah.
They need their money to run the offices. I'm like, why the fuck do they need more people? Like, they have the civil service, and he's like, for their campaigns. I was just like, they get paid fucking $100,000 to go and talk to people. They don't need anything more. And these people like Keir Starmer are getting $800,000 over 3 years. It shows that your MPs have been bought. He's like, ugh. And I'm just like, if you don't think they're bent, I don't know what's wrong with you.
I love this new version, right? I absolutely love this new version of Dr. Evil 10%, because if we went back to like Pod 10, every time I would say something like he just said, he'd be like, tinfoil hat.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time. We'd never get into a debate about it, because he'd just be like, tinfoil hat. And now,
as I was off, I was just laughing. I was just like, wow. I was listening as a viewer and as a listener and thinking, wow, this is a new character in the house right now.
The curtain's down. He can see it now. Before, he was just like, oh no, anyone that slags the government off as badly as I do is clearly a conspiracy theorist and by and large an idiot. And you've actually seen you've seen that there's no magic and it's just sleight of hand. And you're going, oh fuck.
All these articles every week that has just come into you and it's penetrated your brain to make you flip.
I constantly say I want to go back in my pod.
Yeah.
But anyway, I feel like I'm Cypher. I think I do. I'd like just my memory erased.
Yeah.
Like, give me a nice cushy job. I get to eat steak every day. I should be happy. Just leave me alone.
Yeah. The problem is
it's on
classic with Bitcoin is the fact that you can't stop thinking about this because it affects every portion of your life, whether it's from, the family, your health, your wealth, of course, anything. And it's just going to continue to consume you more and more until it's actually, until we're on a Bitcoin standard.
I was going to say it consumes you until you get to the point of Mr. All-In.
Yeah.
And you write, and you troll people on LinkedIn when you haven't got a job.
And just lol. And just knowing there's about 5 people reading your comment, lolling as well. They can't like it because they get fired. But
I wonder who those people are. I wonder who those people are.
And I always get DMs and messages either on LinkedIn or on WhatsApp, just being like screenshots of my messages on LinkedIn. I'm like the message. Like, I can't. I'll get fired. Right, fair enough. Fair enough.
So actually, kind of going back to this story, like it's just very weird pattern of events within his history, like buying Doge, buying Bitcoin, doesn't seem to understand it, but spunk below money. I'm guessing if his posts are actually true, it's probably his flat or house money from his breakup with his fiance who was cheating on him. But yeah, is there something more obvious than that? Because I was digging around trying to work out why on earth you've posted this.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's just the whole thing's bizarre, right? So number one, he says, "Oh, it's all on Robinhood. How do I send it to a lodger?" You go, right. It's called a ledger. Like that's not even a typo. E and O are miles away.
Yeah,
You don't even know how to spell ledger. Never mind how to use one. And then further on in his comments, because he's flexing a little bit. It's a bit of a flex, isn't it? He's gone and dropped, what was it, 80 grand on Bitcoin. And you go, okay, fair play. That's a good Bitcoin investment because he's doing this in the Bitcoin subreddit, right? That's why I stumbled across this one. But then he goes, oh no, crypto is only 12.5% of my Bitcoin's only 12.5% of my crypto investments. I have 500k on Robinhood and 200k on Coinbase.
Yeah,
he's got a load of shit coins, right? So he's basically invested 700k, and so
just on crypto.
Yeah, he's obviously quite a wealthy guy. At least he says he is.
Well, you've got another post here, buying a small cabin house in a rural area. Please can provide some advice. He seems to be looking at Italy, and that post is what it's insinuating. Unsent letter about his girlfriend. Then you got Bitcoin. Then you got Dogecoin, 140k. Then you got was about to give girlfriend of 4 years a ring that belonged to my grandmother. Found out that the diamond ring is worth a lot more than I thought. Then you've got something about
is he a boomer, do you think?
Well, in this kind of behavior, it looks somewhere about 30. So it looks like the ring. Well, actually, I've actually read the thing about the ring.
Yeah, because naturally
maybe it says a monetary
young
amount.
guy, but maybe he's not.
Oh, here we go. So during that call, he told me that the diamond is a rare purple of some type, and it's worth a lot. He said he personally had no clue how much it's worth, and he would not be surprised if it was worth 100 to 500 grand, or even if it reached 1 million. So whether that's true or not, or it's just someone just really bored.
Yeah. To us, he might be trolling. Who knows? But yeah, is the fact that he bought it all. I don't think you can even withdraw on Robinhood. I don't think withdrawals.
I was reading the comments and it seems to say you can now.
Oh,
Didn't used to be able to.
Well, that's good because he did reply to me. I replied, but I've got like so many Reddit accounts now. I can't find the thing because my main Reddit account got banned. I got one on my laptop, one on my other one on my phone. I can't remember which one I replied to him on because I've got like so many Reddit accounts now that I don't really use any of them. But he replied to me on here because I just went, dude, you don't even know how to spell ledger.
Yeah.
Not your keys, not your cheese. Just get it off into self-custody and you're going to get wrecked on shitcoins. and he replied going, I don't believe you on the shitcoins. I think they're going to do well. But yeah, I do need to investigate what a ledger is. But yeah, so the only reason I shoved this in here, right, is if you do have a lot of money, just before you buy this quantity of Bitcoin, I would rather people not buy Bitcoin and leave it on Robinhood and Coinbase and then spell ledger lodger. It just terrifies me, right? Because you're gonna lose it all. You're gonna get hacked. You're gonna get locked out. Something bad's gonna happen to you. Just do some research. It's not too hard. If you want to use my app, use my app. But if you want to really just read the Bitcoin standard, just do a bit of research on Bitcoin before you just lump in fucking 700 grand. This guy's lumped in.
Yeah, but it's just
it might be complete bollocks. Yeah, but
there's a massive chain of things on his post on his post history, and it's not even like far down. I just looked at the last few days,
yeah, he's probably a bullshitter then. He is called Finger Licker, so finger_licker. All right, final story of the week.
Right. Last one, super simple. Play chess or play Scratch, like a digital scratch card, and then Bitcoin. So both apps are available via your respective app stores, iOS and Android, and it's a great way to earn a couple of sats each day whilst playing. So for me, I think it's one of those things which it just goes to reinforce that we are in the golden era and the golden period. Because if any company is prepared to give away sats with no, from what we can see so far, no limitations, then it just, all the fingers point towards it's in a good place. Because we know that Bitcoin is scarce and there's only 21 million to be had. If a company is out there willing to give away Bitcoin, take it.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. I've tried it out. So it's from a company called Zebedee, and you can find it if you search for Bitcoin chess. It's the #1 search result. So yeah,
Weren't Zebedee going to give something else out as well?
Yeah, well,
I'm sure they were linked to something else, right?
Yeah, Zebedee is their whole app is you just do stuff and earn money. It's a bit like Carrot.
Yes,
Who's being rebranded to Bitcoin Magazine. Basically, just do stuff, buy stuff, and you'll get rewarded in sats. So Zebedee is very similar. And yeah, so they just put out a bit of a standalone app called Bitcoin Chess. And it's very, very simple. Anyone that can play chess can just earn some sats on here. Also, I haven't fully cashed out yet, just to test their cash out process. Because I do know you have to cash out using the Zebedee wallet. So you go from Bitcoin Chess, you have to go to Zebedee. So I've downloaded both apps now. So I think one of them was a bit of a earn some sats in Bitcoin Chess, but to get your 10 cents of Bitcoin, you need to download Zebedee. So now you've basically paid me 10 cents to download Zebedee, which is their main wallet. And from there, I don't know about withdrawing yet. So I wouldn't be massively like, oh, go do this. And you can definitely earn Bitcoin, because at the moment, I'm not sure whether it's still stuck within their walled gardens. But hey, it's a little app. I think it's fine. They say it's fine. They say you can withdraw. The only reason I'm being hesitant is because I haven't withdrawn myself. But yeah, I've earned a couple of hundred Satoshis on Bitcoin chess. It's very simple. If you don't know how to play chess, you probably won't be able to do it. But if you just know the moves, you can. Literally, you don't even have to play chess. They just set up a chessboard, and within one move, you can get checkmate. So you just have to figure out what checkmate is in that one move. If you can do it, you get like 5 sats, and then just do that 20 times. You got 100 sats. And so that's what I've been doing, and it's kind of fun. It's kind of easy. Obviously, during the whole lockdown period, I honed up my chess skills, so I'm all right at it now. And so it's
what does
right.
Jack Mallers say? His favorite line?
Who's that?
Jack Mallers. He's got a key
right.
line, doesn't he?
Pawn E4.
That's the one. Pawn E4.
Yeah. Or like, what's it? Yeah. Pawn E4. Yeah, or pawn E5, which is just the standard chess move. Yeah, just like pawn E4, just like your move.
Yeah.
But yes, it's decent, right? So it's hopefully it's just another it's a free way to earn sats. We had Carrot on a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Read articles and you can earn Bitcoin. Here you can play chess and earn Bitcoin. Tiny amounts, like tiny amounts. Probably not going to be meaningful in the scheme of things, but I think it's one of those where we should try and support these companies, right? I think I haven't really followed Zebedee that much. I don't really know who runs it or anything. I don't know if they're shitcoiners, but we should try and support companies like this the best we can because
I mean, personally,
fine,
yeah, I really like it.
I've just
the
downloaded
Bitcoin
it.
magazine. Yeah,
So I have a
in?
whirl on it.
it's one of them. Like, we're a relatively small community, and as someone that's built an app in this community, it is tough to make money. It's tough to make sizable money to make the developer effort that you're paying for pay back. So, well, I think when someone in the community builds an app and like shoves it out there and goes, "What do you think?" Especially when it's giving you sats, I don't really know how that.
Not only just that part, it's then the giveaway afterwards as well.
Yeah, I don't know how that's sustainable, to be honest, because literally, like the checkmates, I can do within a second. I'm just like bang, 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 bang. So inside of a minute, you owe me 100 sats now, and it's all right. Well, I haven't watched a single ad. I haven't done anything. So you're paying me just to play your game. Not quite sure how their business model works. I'm sure they're going to ask for money at some point. So, and they need to and I want them to. Like ask them, like give me something of value, and maybe I'll pay for it, and then it will strip the amount of stats you've given me.
Basically, Mr. All-In is saying he'll do something strange for change live on air.
Oh, I'll do anything for change, baby.
Even in the cabin with Trudeau.
Yeah.
Get down in that basement, boy.
Hats for sats.
Shit on your face.
And we're cancelled. That's the one. That's the one right there. If he doesn't edit correctly, that's it. No more pod. We're finished.
That's fine. You can shit on people's faces.
Yeah. Well, I'll have my week back.
You'd be cancelled if you couldn't shit on someone's face. Racist.
I'm hoping you're going to be doing some classic editing later on.
I won't be. This is all staying in.
No, of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah.
No one literally at this point, no one's listening. We can say anything we want.
Oh, I love it.
Slag everyone off.
Right. Well, thanks for not listening, viewers, every week. They start off and then it just tails off, right?
Literally 0 at this point.
0. No one's got the staying power to last all the way to the end of the 4Bs, including Mrs. No Show, because she doesn't even start with us. Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, Mr. All-In, aka the $1 trillion man, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, have brought you another 2 hours of Bitcoin only content for you to listen, like, share, and comment with no one.
And if
Keep
you're
it to
still
yourself.
And if you're still listening, fuck you.
Perfect. Peace.